The Galactic Survey fleet had expected another barren sphere, a world of oceans and rock, valuable perhaps for harvesting, unremarkable in every other sense. They had seen hundreds, cataloged thousands, and their archives swell with worlds that could be classified in neat boxes: uninhabited, undeveloped, partially civilized, or advanced enough to warrant caution. Earth, from a distance, had seemed primitive yet curious. The readings showed metal constructs on its surface, signals leaking into space in chaotic frequencies, an atmosphere barely beginning to choke on its industry. It was a profile of a species stepping out of childhood, dabbling in space, but still tied to its planet. Harmless, contained. Then the anomaly appeared. It was faint at first, a biological energy spike that did not match human readings. Every survey algorithm flagged it. The creature was small, terrestrial, yet radiated strength far beyond its mass. Scans exaggerated its heartbeat into seismic pulses, its growl into a resonant shockwave. Cross-reference data confused the computers further. This being lived not in isolation, but in close proximity to humans, as if they shared dens, as if the apex predator of the world had not consumed humanity, but kept them nearby like symbiotic dependents. The officers of the survey fleet debated endlessly. Some argued it was error, a malfunction of alien instruments uncalibrated for the atmospheric mix of this planet. Others whispered that the anomaly was real, that humans themselves were a subservient race bound to greater rulers, monsters masquerading as pets, perhaps gods of fur and fawn. The captain chose caution. If there was the smallest chance the creature represented planetary command, they could not risk protocol violations. They marked it dominant native life form, possible overlord, and prepared first contact not with humanity, but with a beast. On Earth, the sun rose quietly over a modest town. The creature in question stirred from its sleep, not with seismic tremors, but with a yawn and the stretch of four limbs. To its human family, it was nothing more than their dog, faithful and eager, eyes alight with the joy of another morning. They scratched behind its ears, filled its bowl, and watched it wag its tail in gratitude. No human alive could have imagined that, far above, an alien fleet trembled at every flick of that tail. When the first reconnaissance craft descended, they did so not near governments or population centers, but near the backyard of an unsuspecting family. Their drones observed from a safe distance, lenses fixed on the beast. They watched it chase a ball thrown by a child, saw it bark at a bird, and recoiled in terror. The speed of its charge was recorded as a predatory strike. The sound of its bark was magnified into a destructive energy pulse. The wagging of its tail was archived as a threat display, a whip of muscle and bone signaling readiness for combat. Humans spoke to their dog with laughter, tones of affection, gentle commands. Aliens heard ritual phrases, obedience oaths, and invocations. The dog's return to its master's side was misinterpreted as proof that the humans bent their will to the monster, living only by its permission. And when the beast rested its head on the lap of the adult human, sighing in comfort, the alien interpreters logged the moment as subjugation through psychic touch. The council of the fleet was paralyzed. They had encountered predators before, great serpents on gas worlds, armored titans on volcanic plains, but never one that lived in concert with lesser species. Either humans were enslaved or worse. They had somehow forged a pact with their monster, an alliance between prey and predator so unthinkable it sent tremors through every officer's mind. What kind of beings could thrive under such conditions? What resilience must they possess to accept the presence of such horror, to raise their offspring beside it? They attempted communication. Signals were sent not to governments or humans, but directed straight at the yard where the beast roamed. The family never noticed the shimmering drone projecting encoded symbols. The dog did. Its head lifted, ears perked, and it barked loudly. That bark shattered alien comm channels, distorted into raw noise that cracked speakers and fried minor circuits. The dog had not noticed. It was simply barking at the mailman arriving down the street. But to the fleet, it was a declaration of dominance, a warning growl to interstellar intruders. They scrambled back into orbit, writing in their logs, "The Overlord has acknowledged our presence. We must retreat and reassess." Back among the stars, the scholars drafted their first report to the Empire. They wrote of a world enslaved to beasts that walked as gods. They described a predator whose voice shattered technology, whose energy signature burned brighter than entire cities. The dog was magnified in legend, its simple actions translated into cosmic threats. By the time the report reached the distant homeworlds, the story had warped into something else entirely. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was a monster world, a stronghold of apex beings who allowed humans to serve them. The alien fleet considered their options. They could leave, mark the planet forbidden, and let it fester in myths. But their pride did not allow retreat. The Empire demanded clarity, demanded proof. They returned again in larger numbers, surrounding the world with their ships, shields raised, weapons armed but cautious. They began observing not just one beast, but thousands. Across the continents, they saw others, creatures of fur of different sizes and shapes, but all bearing that same biological anomaly. They howled in unison at night, and alien officers heard the voice of God summoning storms. They ran alongside humans, and alien scholars marked the site as ritual hunts. They were pampered, fed, and cared for, and the aliens mistook it all as offerings of tribute. Humans, oblivious, went about their lives. The dog at the center of it all gnawed on bones, splashed in puddles, and barked at passing cars. Aliens wrote legends of its wrath, each bark a sonic weapon capable of reducing metal to slag. When it chased its tail, they believed it was performing a ritual circle, a dance of power to bend reality. They watched, horrified yet fascinated, until the day came when a command was given. They could not wait any longer. They must test the monster. The fleet launched a strike. Small at first, a drone armed with stun weaponry, directed not at humanity, but at the dog. The beam struck. The dog yelped, startled, but survived without injury. To the aliens, this was confirmation of indestructibility. Their weapons had done nothing but awaken the beast's anger. The dog barked again, for bristling and charged at the drone. Teeth sank into alien alloy, tearing circuits apart. The drone fell in sparks, and the dog shook it proudly before dropping it in the yard. The humans scolded it lightly, thinking it had chewed another toy. The aliens trembled, recording, "The monster has destroyed our war machine with no effort. Its jaws break our strongest metals. Its defiance proves its supremacy." In a panic, the fleet withdrew once more. Their leaders argued bitterly. Some demanded immediate annihilation of the planet before the monsters could spread beyond. Others urged caution, fearing that any attack might awaken powers they could not contain. In the end, they sent one clear message across the stars: the monster cannot be killed. The retreat of the First Fleet did not bring calm. It brought ripples across the galactic empire, spreading fear like fire in dry grass. Their transmissions traveled system by system, carrying the image of a beast that could withstand weapons and crush machines with its jaws. The story of a world enslaved by monsters became a tale of cosmic terror, repeated in taverns, shrines, and academies. Whole sectors debated whether the Empire should destroy Earth or leave it sealed in eternal quarantine. But fear is not easily contained. Pride demanded retribution, and paranoia demanded certainty. Soon, a coalition formed, larger than any survey fleet, composed of warships from distant star systems, all united by the belief that they must strike before the monsters spread beyond their world. To the humans below, nothing seemed unusual. Satellites detected strange activity, but governments dismissed it as debris or storms. People lived their days, never realizing that their pets had become the focus of interstellar war councils. The dogs barked at shadows and howled at the moon, blissfully unaware that alien fleets interpreted every sound as a psychic call to arms. In orbit, captains wrote reports about coordinated global chants, believing the howls carried frequencies that shook their ships. They had not encountered loyalty before, not in the way humans expressed it, not in the way families embraced their dogs with affection, protecting them as kin. Every gesture of kindness was twisted into a ritual of worship. The first strike came not with weapons of annihilation, but with restraint. They feared provoking the monsters too strongly. Precision teams descended to capture a single beast, hoping to study it alive. They targeted a farm dog in the quiet countryside, thinking its isolation would make the operation simple. The ship descended under cloak, deploying energy nets, containment fields, and gravity anchors. They expected resistance, but not from humans. The family woke to strange lights, and when their dog yelped in pain, they fought with desperation. They had no weapons capable of piercing alien armor, yet they threw themselves at the invaders using fists, sticks, even farming tools, defending the animal as if it were their child. The aliens had come prepared for the monster, not for the humans who loved it. Their reports were frantic. Humans fought with reckless abandon, charging into beams of force, enduring pain with grim resolve, refusing to abandon the creature. The dog, frightened, bit through the restraints, breaking the field with impossible strength. To aliens, the event was proof of alliance, proof that the humans were indeed chosen servants of the beasts. Who else would charge death itself for the sake of a monster? Who else would bleed willingly to shield its master? The fleet withdrew in panic, leaving wreckage behind. Humans recorded strange lights and unexplainable fires, dismissing it as meteor strikes or secret experiments. The Empire saw only one truth. The monsters commanded loyalty so absolute that humans would rather die than betray them. No species with such bond could be underestimated. Across the galaxy, propaganda spread. Holograms depicted massive canines towering over cities, their voices cracking ships apart, their humans kneeling in submission. Recruiters spoke of the coming war, warning citizens that the monster world would soon seek dominion beyond its star. Priests declared the beasts demons, while others whispered that they were gods. Fear built armies faster than any decree. Soon, the coalition fleet assembled, surrounding Earth with numbers that blotted out the stars. The assault began in silence, a coordinated barrage of energy directed not at cities or infrastructure, but at clusters of canine habitats. From space, alien commanders believed they were striking the monsters' breeding grounds. On Earth, people woke to thunder and fire raining from the skies, panicked not for their homes but for their companions. Dogs barked across continents, their cries rising into the night, an eerie chorus that made the alien fleets tremble. They thought the monsters were answering the attack with a planetary call, uniting their kin for war. Humanity did not sit idle. Military scrambled fighters, now understanding why aliens targeted rural kennels, shelters, and homes instead of capitals or bases. The defense was uncoordinated at first, but rage spread quickly. Images of burning farms, destroyed shelters, and wounded animals circulated among soldiers and civilians alike. The realization that the enemy sought not conquest of humanity, but extermination of their pets transformed the conflict. Humans rallied not around governments or flags, but around the instinctive determination to defend what they loved. The aliens watched in horror as humans launched counterstrikes with fury, not for territory, not for resources, but for loyalty to their beasts. Entire squadrons flew suicide missions to divert enemy fire from evacuation zones, where families clutched dogs in their arms. Soldiers shielded kennels with their own bodies, refusing to retreat. To the alien mind, this behavior was unthinkable. No species would sacrifice itself so readily for what they saw as monsters. Yet humans did, again and again, proving their bond was unbreakable. The dog at the center of the first encounter, the so-called overlord, became the unintentional symbol of resistance. Images leaked of the creature tearing apart alien drones, standing beside its family unscathed, its bark echoing against armored suits. Soldiers carried its likeness into battle, painting it on tanks and ships. When the dog leapt at a hovering machine and dragged it from the sky, humans cheered and aliens wept in fear. Every instinctual act of play or defense was magnified into legend. When it dug into the earth, they believed it was summoning forces from the core. When it rolled in mud, they whispered it cloaked itself in armor. When it barked at thunder, they thought it commanded storms. The war escalated. The coalition deployed Titanic cruisers, weapons capable of boiling oceans, but they held back, terrified of provoking the monster's true wrath. They fired carefully, hoping to disable rather than awaken. Yet every strike only deepened human resistance. Engineers modified weapons. Scientists studied alien wreckage. Diplomats pleaded for communication, but every attempt at negotiation was ignored or lost in translation. When humans declared, "It's just a dog," the translation systems warped the phrase into, "It is our God." The aliens could not comprehend love expressed as loyalty without fear. They had known empires built on domination, alliances built on necessity, but never a bond as pure as companionship. What they saw as worship was simply affection, but affection was a concept they did not trust. To them, humans were not slaves but zealots, willing disciples of beasts that granted them strength. And so the fleets pressed on, convinced that they battled not only monsters but their chosen followers.